Let's go! Are you kidding me? I'm not going to lie. This is just funny. LSU has self-imposed a bowl ban for this season. Oh, my goodness. When you losing all your scholarship guys, why don't we just slap a bowl ban on this godforsaken year? Okay? Maybe the NCAA will get off our tails because we are self-imposing a ban on this disastrous year. Will LSU even have enough scholarship guys to play these next two games? Okay? So, obviously, we're going to talk about that. Hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, okay? And I know I'm laughing, but this is obviously very serious stuff because Brooks Cabuena also reported something else earlier today that's going to upset a lot of you in more ways than one. The hardest thing Ed Orgeron's going to have to do with the 65 to 69-ish players on the roster is re-recruit the roster. And we're going to take a look at LSU's roster in just a moment. Now let's go to the Advocate. This is Andrea Gallo and Brooks Cabuena reporting this. Multiple sources told the Advocate that LSU team morale turned south before the season even began. When a group of players felt Ed Orgeron mishandled a team meeting regarding a player-led march amid protests against police brutality, which is interesting because Clemson, and I've heard this all year long, that some of you consider this an excuse for the season. And you know what? I'm going to be honest. I doubted it because Clemson had player-led movements. Alabama had player-led movements. And the machine just keeps rolling. Well, you guys were right, and I probably brushed that off just a little too much. Now, I will say that I have heard some rumblings about the team did not really coalesce, if that's the right word, around this issue, and Ed Orgeron was backpedaling. But this reporting, which is behind a paywall, don't like sharing stuff that is behind a paywall, but Cliff Notes version, this is a great piece from Brooks Cabuena, and for them to go on a march, cancel practice, and not include the coach, because all throughout last year it was all about how much we love Coach O and whatnot. Well, to not include him is a very fascinating thing. And whether or not that makes you uncomfortable, whether or not you want to talk about it or not, what we do know now is that it did play a role. And if we're being clear, the timing of Jamar Chase's departure was interesting. It was 3 days after this happened. The departures of Tyler Shelvin and Kerry Vincent soon came after that. All three of those players declined, and I'm sharing this info. All three of those players declined to be interviewed for the story from Brooks Cabuena, which is interesting. Let's do some roster management. How about it? Okay? Let's blow this up a little bit. Okay. Hopefully you get Keyshawn Butte back. Eli Ricks and Arik Gilbert. Ironically, these are your 3 5-stars. We're going to dive deeper into Arik Gilbert's recruitment tomorrow. You do not want to miss it. It's going to be a little bit longer, but something's happening at Alabama and other schools regarding 5-stars, and it makes me wonder what exactly is going to happen. Andre Anthony would be a nice player to have back. He's been pretty exceptional these last few weeks. Does he feel he's risen his NFL stock enough, or does he want to try his hand? Obviously, Coy Moore's a nice young piece. Jay Ward's gotten better. Jacoby Stevens has gone to the NFL. Trey Bradford, B.J. Ojolari rumors. I've been told that he's going to play on Saturday. I'm personally still skeptical about that, and I'm not the only one that's reporting that. Jeray Jenkins, Josh White, who we thought was going to play this year. Obviously, Finley, Gay, Adams, John Trey. Mo Hampton, who's not had the year we expected him to have. Maybe it's the new scheme. We don't know. Max Johnson, does he come back? Miles Brennan. Here's an interesting player. Once again, remember, you only have 81 scholarships and you got 25 new guys. Well, DeVonta Lee has switched positions 6,000 gazillion times. We still yet to really even see him play. Here's Racey McMath. He's probably gone. He's got a Senior Bowl invite. Damon Clark, what do you do with that? Chris Curry, who tweeted out earlier this week, we're going to get things fixed. Well, is Chris Curry even envisioned to be a part of the future of this program? His carry total has gone down. Jordan Tolles is someone I like a lot. Jabril Cox, he's going to the NFL. He's got a Senior Bowl invite. Micah Baskerville's very interesting. I think he comes back so he can work to potentially, hopefully, get a Senior Bowl invite next year. Sting, what's Derek Stingley Jr.'s status? Cordell Flott, maybe he feels he's being misused. Darren Evans, a transfer who had a rough game against Mississippi State, all being in a tough spot. Ray Darius Jones, Cam Lewis. Do you tell Cam Lewis to walk? Trey Palmer, does he come back? You can't really think that Trey Palmer, a high-level 4-star, feels as if he's being properly used. Antoine Sampa was a Rivals 5-star at one point. LSU struggles at linebacker. I'm surprised we've not seen Sampa or Cox. Zach Van Rosenberg's very interesting. They do have Peyton Todd coming in the next class, but still, Zach Van Rosenberg's an interesting prospect. I'm surprised we haven't seen Philip Webb play. He's an interesting guy. We move along. Ray Thornton, who's played some outside linebacker, not on anyone's NFL radar. Here's the truth. What if Ray Thornton comes to Ed Orgeron and says, hey, I want to come back? Well, you got a gazillion outside linebacker types coming back next year. You still have Philip Webb. You still have B.J. Ojolari. There's going to be some guys that might want to come back who LSU's simply going to cut simply because of roster management. So while LSU's roster numbers are down right now, since they can only have 81 compared to 85 and no one's using the year of eligibility, it's going to be tough. What about Dare Rosenthal? Is he ready for the NFL? Jarrell Cherry, I thought he was going to play some. Do you want Liam Shanahan and Chasen Hines back next year? Cardell Thomas, the most hyped offensive line recruit since Lyle Collins. What's happened there? Cam Wyer's probably going to be back. Charles Turner, Ed Ingram, Xavier Hill, Marcus Dummerville. Anthony Bradford was a guy I heard a lot about this offseason. Pretty huge for an offensive guard, but why haven't we seen him? Does Austin Deculus decide to come back? He's a senior. I think he tests the NFL waters. Marlon Martinez, a part of the 2020 class. So, you continue here. Cole Taylor, Jacobian Guillory, Neil Farrell, who's a senior. There was, he said he was going to opt out this year. He's played some. Not quite the same player he was in the 4-3 than he was the 3-4 compared to last year. Joseph Evans is really interesting because I was told he was an offensive lineman. Now he's back on the defensive line. The offensive line continues to struggle. Why don't we try Joseph Evans at offensive line when, he was rumored to potentially be a starter. Then, of course, Eric Taylor, Jaquelin Roy, they'll be back. And Glenn Logan is another interesting guy. So Ed Orgeron's got to re-recruit this roster and figure out who he wants to come back, because while the 2021 class is going to be interesting with 5 slots remaining and them trying to get some 5-stars there, once again, our 5-star recruiting piece tomorrow is going to be excellent. What's going to happen here? I mean, I don't know. I simply don't know. So let's do a longer subscriber shout out. Here's Patriot for Truth. The defection started on defense because of Bo P. Got to plug the leak in the boat quickly, but Bo must go regardless. And I think that is huge in the case of Rajon Davis. I read a story earlier. He was speaking to 247 Sports about his recruitment. Everyone is saying he is still solid to LSU, but if he's still solid to LSU, why wouldn't he go on ahead and sign his paperwork? Well, put 2 and 2 together. Maybe Rajon Davis knows something about the future of LSU football that we don't know regarding the defensive coordinator position, because if you're Rajon Davis, absolutely you don't want to go to LSU and play for that defense. Here's Jeffrey. The youth on this team is one of the bright spots of the season. It's upsetting to see things falling apart like this. Yeah, for sure, especially Kayshon Boutte. Been inconsistent, but playing better overall. Obviously, B.J. Ojulari's been a bright spot. Not as hot as he was a few weeks ago, but still, I agree with you overall, Jeffrey. And you expect guys like Jordan Tolles to become, hopefully, an SEC starter at safety. So, yeah, the youth, Jaquelin Roy, we got to see Jacobian Guillory finally. So, hopefully, those things work itself out. Now, this is what's interesting about Kevin's comment here. No one at Bama gets homesick. This year is proving Ed is a short-term coach and not a long-term answer. People need to stop with the excuses. This is the part that I'm really fascinated in. No one at Bama gets homesick. We're actually going to take a look at 5-star recruits, okay? Because it's not just LSU that's dealing with players getting homesick. This is an interesting hypothetical. We keep Dave Aranda and LSU a 7-1, or at least 6-2 right now. So I used to be a 4-3 over a 3-4 guy, and I hear so many people say, well, there isn't that much of a difference. You just got to stop people. I strongly disagree. The 3-4 defense, the one thing it does is it makes you more unpredictable. And the reason why it does is because it's harder to block a 3-4 front that's talented because they stack up on your center and tackles more often than not. So, as I showed in the film study, the Alabama film study, I showed you how easy it was for Bama's offensive line to get to the second level. That's because LSU doesn't have defensive tackles that normally play in a 4-3 and whatnot. So, yeah, this is interesting for Mark. Let's see. If Dave Aranda's a defensive coordinator, LSU probably beats Mississippi State. LSU, the Missouri game's a little bit different because their offense has been good all year, but I think they do beat Missouri. So those are 2 wins right there. I don't think anything would have changed what happened at Auburn, especially with the true freshman quarterback. That SI cover in the background is iconic. Thanks again to Jonathan. He's really been stepping up in our live streams and supporting the channel with some bucks, and he's also sent us, once again, I've always wanted this Sports Illustrated. I've always wanted it, and I just like that this SI is battle-tested. Look at that. That is something else, especially now that it is Florida week. Thank you so much, Jonathan. I really do appreciate that. So, obviously, let's have a discussion in the comment section. I try my best to reply to all the possible comments. It's Power Hour. LSU. Bomb. Bomb, bomb, bomb. Bomb. Are we doing chicken wings and fries tonight? Woo. Let's go.